Hi, my name is Anna, and today I'm going to show you how you can make a stick horse like this one, or some people call it a hobby horse, or take it one step further and turn it into a unicorn. All the steps are basically the same up until you get to this part, so just follow along with the whole video and you will be able to make one. For the free pattern, check out the link in the description below. You'll need the following supplies. Head on over to funsockcity.com for all your sock needs, including the ones you'll need for this project. I've got these two stocks here because I'm going to show you how to make a unicorn stick horse and just a regular stick horse. The methods will actually be the same all the way until the very end. So if you're wanting to do either one, start here and follow these steps. To begin with, you'll just take your sock and you'll stuff it with whatever stuffing you want to use. And you want to work it to be more like a horse head shape, so it's more narrow at the front and it gets bigger back here. But give it enough stuffing so that over time it doesn't get mushed down. So I'm stuffing it quite full, and then I'll bring in more stuffing back here. And then I'm going to take my stick and just push it in there. And this is a 3/4 inch dowel. You could use bigger. I wouldn't really go much smaller. You could also just use a regular stick. And you want it to be this way. You don't want it to come on like that. So I'm going to add just a little bit more stuffing in here around that stick. Now plug in your hot glue gun because we're going to begin securing everything in place. When you have your stick positioned the way you like it, take the same yarn you'll be using for your hair and tie it at the base of your stuffing. And you don't want to have it all the way down at the bottom because you want to have a nice secure hold on your sock and that stick. And I just did a square knot to hold that into place. And then I'm going to wrap this around the stick and that sock really tight, making sure to cover any exposed sock. And then I'm going to put glue right here where the sock meets the stick. Make sure that you have your stick where you want it to be. Mine kind of slid out as I was twisting it, so I pushed it in a little bit more, and then glue that sock into place on the stick. And then just glue this yarn into place. Careful not to get burned. And let everything cool before you continue on. Take a crochet hook that can fit between the threads of the sock, and starting down towards the base of the horse's back, but in the center, stick your crochet hook in, attach onto the yarn, and pull that back out. And for this first one, you'll just tie that into place using a square knot. Then travel up the back of the horse a couple of inches and insert your crochet hook and come right back out right near that. Grab onto the yarn. I have to twist my hook and pull it out. And then you just pull out more yarn. Again, do that same thing up a couple more inches. And this right here, this double backed part, we're actually not going to have. So I'm going to cut off my yarn about down here. I'm sure that will be way more than I need, but I want to make sure I have plenty. So just pull that all the way out. Then I'm going to do one last one right up about here. We're going to create a horizontal line this way and that way. And try to make sure you do them evenly to each side. And go ahead and tie this part off right here and cut off the excess. Now decide how long you want your mane to be. Usually with stick horses, they're a little bit shorter. I honestly think it's just because it helps to keep it a little less messy. So I'm gonna have mine be about 6 inches long. To make it really easy, over and over, wrap it around, and this will help you to create the same length of hair, and we want lots of hair. So I've gone around my very official measuring device a lot, and then I'm just gonna cut this all on one side. This was not the greatest plan. Don't use a little notebook. And then you have these bunches of hair. Take a small bunch. I've got about 4 right here, and I'm pushing at the midpoint under that hair and then push these ends through that loop that you created and then pull that tight. And then you'll just repeat that process all along to create the mane. Once you've done all this part of the mane, move to this portion. On a regular horse, you would create shorter pieces, but this is going to be a unicorn. So I'm actually going to do longer pieces anyway. I'm going to continue using those same pieces that I cut and attach them in the same manner. Then go along and cut any of the extra long pieces. Now cut out the templates for the ears, and I'm using 2 coordinating pieces of felt that I feel like look good with this, but also are contrast with each other. And I'm going to do the smaller ear on the lighter piece of felt, but you can do it however you'd like. Go ahead and trace out your ears, and I like to just trace once and then fold it and cut through 2 layers. To glue this centerpiece right in the middle. Then run a strip of glue on one side and bring those sides together and hold that in place until it's cooled completely. Now take your unicorn and we're going to put the ears up at the top. Do you remember that straight line that we did across? About right on the edge of each side of that. So here's the side of one, and I'll put the other one on the opposite side. Glue it into place by running a little bit of glue on the inside edge that's going to be touching the horse, and place it right there and let it cool completely. Make sure as you're positioning it that it looks symmetrical with the other side. Make sure you keep all the hair out of the glue. Then I'm going to give this horse a little nose. This is completely optional. If you're doing just a regular horse, I would make it more circular. Whereas with this, since it's a unicorn that I'm making, I'm going to make it a little whimsical by using a heart. And to make sure it's nice and symmetrical, I'm just going to fold it in half right down the midline and cut on one side, and that will help to create a really symmetrical heart. And I'm just going to put it right on the end of the unicorn nose. Again, just use your judgment if you're doing a horse, maybe something a little less whimsical, but if it is just a regular horse and you have a child that really loves hearts, go ahead and do it. All right, now I'm going to show you the eyes, and if you're doing a regular horse, you could use just regular buttons. You could cut out a shape with felt included in the template. But I'm going to show you how I make the unicorn eye. I like to fold my felt in half, the width of one eye, and then I just like to trace the eye shape onto the felt. And then I cut this out, and the reason I fold it is so that it helps to create that more symmetrical look between the 2 sides, and just cut that out so I can work with a more manageable piece. And then you've got 2 symmetrical pieces, and sometimes I have to make a couple adjustments. Now you can choose to do it with the eyes closed or with the eyes up and open. I think I'll do them up and open, since when it's being played with, hopefully the eyes are open. And they go right on the side of the head. You'll want to look at it when you put on the opposite eye and make sure you get it in the right spot. Here's a good tip if you mess up on the eye placement. Take a blow dryer, put it on the hot setting, and just using the lowest speed, blow right onto where you glued. That will warm up the glue and allow you to take it off. And then I like to peel off any glue that remained behind. There, that's better. To make the halter, get needle and thread ready, have your ribbon ready, and you'll need scissors as well. Now to begin with, we're going to create the part that goes around the muzzle. And we want it to be pretty snug because that's what helps to maintain this smaller front portion and then that bigger shape back there, creating that horse head shape. Now I'm going to use my needle and thread to connect these, and I'm first going to start out by inserting the needle from the underneath side, pulling it till it's almost tight but not quite, and pushing it between those threads that are behind before the knot, so that way it will hold it into place. And we're just going to keep this ribbon together. We'll do that by going back and forth just a couple times. And we're going to sneak this ribbon in from the back and bring it out towards the front. And then bring it across this way. And we're going to take our needle and thread and just tack this into place. I'm going across, and then I'm going to go up, across, and then down again. And then come out on the underneath side. Go ahead and glue on the underneath side of this little junction right here. I want to use glue because my ribbon is kind of stringy, and some of that ribbon wants to try to escape from my sewing, and so that glue will just help to hold it into place. But I also suggest tacking this into place just to help hold everything where you want it. And then once you're done tacking that into position, go ahead and knot it off, and then you can cut off that thread. So then you're going to go ahead and bring this back, and at this point, this is where we're going to really create that bend in the head. And then I'm going to lock my thread into place right here where we were going to tack it. And again, you do that by pushing the needle in, then back out, and then push the needle between those threads before you pull it tight. Then bring that head tilted down, and once you get the other side, that will really help. And just sew that into place. And I'm just trying to get it in there really well so it doesn't come loose. And then on the underneath side, tie it off and cut off the string. And you're going to figure out how long you want the reins to be, and then find that opposite point from this stitching, find the opposite point on this side. Tack this side into place in the same way that you did the last one. I'm looking through to this other side, making sure that I don't have it pull too much this way, because then this starts to get baggy down here. You see that? You can see the looseness on the ribbon if I pull the head too far forward. So watch that as you're gauging how and where to tack this, and then you'll flip it this way and make sure you have it evenly placed on this side in comparison to this one. So now I'm just going to pull that ribbon through. Once I'm satisfied with the positioning, I'm going to sew that into place in the same way that we did the first one. Go this way and then up, and sew a little square to keep this all in the place that we want it. Then before you cut the thread, tack it into place like you did this other side to the sock. Then take any of your excess ribbon and cut that off, but I'm going to leave just a little bit extra on mine because I don't want it to fray and come loose. So what I'm going to do with that extra is I'll tuck it back in there and glue it like I did the other side. And that'll help keep those from fraying further. And if you're doing a horse, you are finished. If you're making the unicorn, you can't stop here though. We need to make that unicorn horn. So set the horse aside, grab your felt. I'm using white felt. We're going to cut out the horn first by tracing the template provided in the pattern and cutting that out. Then go ahead and bring these two sides together, and you're going to sew just along this edge. And I'm going to use my sewing machine, but you could also hand sew it. Once sewn, just turn it right side out so that that seam is on the inside. And then I like to use something to poke the horn all the way out. Then take a needle and thread. I'm using some really sparkly silver thread. There's 3 strands and double looped through the needle, and you'll insert it up at the very peak of that horn, and then you're just going to twist it around the horn, kind of like the stripe on a candy cane. Try to keep it evenly distanced, but every so often you have to do just a little in and out with your thread to hold it in line where you want it. Just pull it slightly snug so that we can create kind of those ripples that we're used to seeing. Before you knot it off, go ahead and stuff the horn. Start with smaller pieces and push them into the very tip, and then you can do larger pieces as you get to the wider sections. Play with the tightness of the thread to create the look that you want. Where you want to finish it up, do a little insert again, but this time don't bring it back out, and you'll just tie it off right there at that spot, and you can cut off the thread. I'm going to add just a little bit more stuffing. I'll be using a white thread to attach it onto the horse. Now you need to decide where you want to place your horn. I think I'm going to place mine just a little bit further back than the eyes, almost to that hair line that we made back here. And you want to make sure you have it centered. And I'm keeping this seam that we have from when we sewed the cone together on the back also. You just align it however you think looks good. So to help me do that, I'm going to pin it into place. So of course, as you're sewing it in, you're going to want to tuck those edges in. To begin with, lock your thread into place on the sock, right underneath one of the edges of the horn. Then I just grab that felt and then grab a section of the sock. Continue around the horn doing that. And if you can see, I kind of push that felt underneath the horn as I'm going along. Then as you knot it off, go ahead and push it in under the horn and then pull it out somewhere else away from there. Pull that tight and cut off that thread, and it should suck back into the head. Thanks so much for joining me in creating a stick horse. I hope that whoever you made it for gets hours and hours of fun and creative play from it. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with others who might enjoy it as well. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.